I started the night shift at Walmart about 2 months ago. Most nights were uneventful, just me, the endless rows of shelves and the hum of fluorescent lights. But then I started noticing her. The first time I saw her, I thought maybe I was just tired or seeing things. It was around 1:30 a.m., and I was stocking cereal in aisle 3 when I caught a glimpse of an older woman standing near the canned soups. She wore a long blue coat, the kind that looked like it hadn't been washed in years, and her hair was tucked neatly under a knitted hat. She wasn't holding a cart, she wasn't even picking anything up. She just stood there staring at the shelves, motionless. At first I thought she might be a regular shopper who liked to browse slowly. So I kept working, but when I glanced back a few minutes later, she was still standing there, in the exact same spot, not moving at all. It creeped me out. The next night I saw her again, same blue coat. Same hat, same spot. I asked a coworker if she'd noticed her before. "Old lady," she said, shrugging. "Can't say I have. You sure you're not just imagining things?" I wanted to believe that too, but the next few nights proved otherwise. Every time I worked late, she was there, always standing in aisle 3. What was even stranger was that I never saw her walk in or out of the store. The security footage showed employees coming and going. Shoppers at random, but no sign of her. One night I decided to get closer. As I passed aisle 3, I slowed down and tried to catch her attention. "Ma'am," I called softly. She didn't flinch, didn't look at me. I stepped a little closer, heart pounding, and said it again. Still nothing. When I reached out to touch her arm, she suddenly turned her head sharply. Her eyes were empty, pale, almost milky white, like she hadn't blinked in years. I jumped back, nearly knocking over a display. After that, I told my manager about her. He laughed it off. "Probably some homeless lady sneaking in," he said. "Just ignore her." But that wasn't it. I asked the security team to check the footage again. Focusing on aisle 3, they came back with a strange answer. "She's not on any cameras inside or outside the store." The guard said it's like she's a ghost. Since then, things have gotten worse. I keep hearing footsteps behind me when I'm alone. Sometimes I feel cold breath on my neck. But when I turn around, nothing. And every night, the woman in the blue coat stands there, watching. Watching me. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every time I passed aisle 3, my eyes darted toward the spot where she always stood. The old woman in the blue coat was there. As usual, barely moving, like a statue. I tried to ignore her, focusing on restocking. But then I heard its soft, almost inaudible whispering coming from the aisle. I stopped dead. "Hello," I called out quietly. Silent. Then from the shadows, a faint voice repeated, "Why are you here?" I froze. The voice sounded hollow, distant and completely unnatural. I walked cautiously toward aisle 3, trying to see where the whisper came from. The woman's eyes flickered toward me. Not the pale, milky eyes I saw before, but deep black voids, empty holes that seemed to suck the light from the aisle. I wanted to run, but my feet were rooted to the spot. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The fluorescent bulbs buzzed and dimmed, casting eerie shadows all around. When the lights came back on, the woman was gone. I searched the aisle, heart pounding, but she was nowhere to be found. No footprints, no signs she'd left. I checked the security cameras again. The footage was corrupted, blurry frames and static for the entire time I saw her. That was when I started hearing stories. Other employees whispered about the blue coat lady. Some claimed to have seen her vanish in front of their eyes. Others said she only appears to those who work the night shift. One story, told quietly by an older worker, chilled me more than anything else. Years ago, she said, an old woman died in the store. Late at night, no one knew until the next morning. They said she never left the aisles, just kept wandering, watching. I don't know if the stories are true, but every night as the clock strikes 1:30 a.m., I see her standing there again, waiting, watching. I knew I had to find out who or what this woman really was. One night after my shift ended, I stayed behind. I hid near aisle 3, clutching my phone's flashlight, ready to catch her in the act. At exactly 1:30 a.m., the lights flickered as usual. A cold chill filled the air, and then there she was. The woman in the blue coat appeared silently at the end of the aisle. She looked exactly as always, stoic, still, watching. I stepped forward and spoke. Why do you stay here? What do you want? Her head turned slowly, those eyes black as the void locked on me. Then her lips moved. Not words I could understand, but a whispering hiss that sounded like a warning. Suddenly the overhead lights went out. The store was plunged into darkness. I dropped my flashlight. In the pitch black I heard her voice again. Leave before you become like me. I scrambled to find the emergency exit. My heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst through my chest. When I finally made it outside, I looked back. The store windows reflected the aisles, and standing there in the shadows was the woman in the blue coat still watching. I quit that night. I never went back. I still see her sometimes in my dreams, in dark corners, in reflections. If you ever work nights at Walmart, and you see someone standing in aisle 3, don't stare. Don't speak. Just walk away, because some things never leave. Walmart night shifts are quiet, that's why I like them. No customers, just shelves, soft fluorescent hums, and the occasional beep from the scanners. I could throw in my earbuds, stock for 6 hours, and clock out without saying a word to anyone. But about a month ago, something started happening. It began small. I'd be in the middle of an aisle, say, cleaning up spilled pet food in aisle 14, and I'd hear a faint click from the overhead PA system. Nothing unusual, sometimes it crackles randomly. But then I heard it again, louder this time. Click, static, silence. That's when I looked up and realized something chilling. The light above me dimmed for a split second. Then the PA crackled once more. And this time it said my name. A whisper but clear. Daniel. That's it, just my name, soft. Drawn out like someone was testing the mic. I froze, dropped the dustpan, looked around. No one, just me and the store. I radioed the security booth. Hey, is someone messing with the PA? Silence. Then a voice responded, I didn't touch anything, you good? It was Marcus, the security guy that night. He sounded normal, calm. I lied, yeah, just heard static, thought it was you. He chuckled, this place has a mind of its own, welcome to Walmart. I laughed it off and went back to work. The next night I walked into the back room and passed by the PA controls. I paused, looked through the small glass window into the booth. Marcus was there drinking coffee. Headphones on, the mic light was off. Still, as I walked into the loading bay, I heard it again. Click, Daniel. This time it was clearer, right above me. Like the ceiling itself had whispered. I rushed back toward the security booth and knocked. Marcus took off his headphones. What's up? You sure you're not messing with the mic? He looked annoyed. Dude, I haven't touched it. You can check the logs. Last mic access was hours ago. He wasn't lying. I checked. Nothing had been triggered. But someone or something was saying my name. The next few days I tried to ignore it. Figured maybe I was tired, sleep deprived, imagining things. But then things escalated. It didn't just say my name anymore. Now it repeated phrases, things I had said earlier during my shift. One night I muttered, I'm so damn tired, while loading up pallets. 20 minutes later, over the PA, a distorted voice said, so damn tired. I dropped the scanner and looked up at the ceiling speakers. My hands were shaking. This wasn't random. It was listening. Things started feeling wrong. The PA clicks always happened between 2 o'clock and 2:15 a.m., right in the dead middle of my shift. Never a second before, never after. I began recording the audio on my phone. But every time I played it back, all I got was static, no voice, no whisper. Nothing. One night I stayed past my shift and waited in the booth after Marcus left. I wanted to see if it would happen when I was the only one with access. At 2:07 a.m., the mic light flicked on by itself. No one touched it. The mic wasn't even warm, like it hadn't been used. Then I heard it again. Daniel, look behind you. My heart hammered in my chest as the PA system crackled with that distorted voice, whispering my name. Daniel, look behind you. I froze. The room around me felt suddenly too big. The silence too heavy, the speaker above me was still. But I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Slowly I turned around, scanning the room. But there was nothing, just the empty booths and aisles. No one was there. I looked back at the mic, my fingers hovering over my phone, unsure whether to record or call Marcus. But as I took a step closer to the booth, I caught something that made my skin crawl. On the computer screen, the PA system log was open, and my name, Daniel, was listed in the access logs as though someone had manually triggered the system. I stared at it, my name right there. But I hadn't touched the mic. It didn't make sense. I backed away from the screen, suddenly feeling trapped in the room. My mind raced with 1,000 possibilities. Could someone have hacked into the system? Or maybe Marcus was playing a prank. But Marcus had left hours ago. He had no reason to mess with me. I checked the time, 2:13 a.m. That was when it happened again. But this time it wasn't just my name. Daniel, don't trust them. The voice was louder this time, clearer. It was as if the speaker was alive, breathing my name in a voice that wasn't human. I jumped back, my breath coming in short bursts. I fumbled for the radio but couldn't find the right button. The only sound in the room was the speaker crackling in the background. I bolted out of the security booth. Adrenaline coursing through my veins, I had to get out of there. I ran through the aisles, my mind spinning. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how everything had been so off in the last few days, the way the PA system had called my name, the strange phrases it repeated. The time seemed like a trap, always at 2:13 a.m. every time I'd hear it. My unease would grow, but this was different. As I made my way down aisle 3, I thought I saw something in my peripheral vision, a figure moving in the far distance. But when I looked, there was nothing. I kept walking, trying to push the thoughts from my mind. But then I heard it again. This time the voice was closer. Daniel, it's coming, look behind you. I whipped around. There was nothing, just the empty aisles stretching on forever. I walked faster, my footsteps echoing in the silence. The lights flickered above me, casting odd shadows across the shelves. Every second felt like an eternity. And that's when I noticed it. The PA system wasn't just playing through the speakers anymore. I heard the voice in the aisles, in the shelves, like it was coming from the walls themselves. I ran, my feet moved faster than I ever thought possible. The sound of the PA system repeating my name, my words echoing in my mind. I made it to the front of the store. Out of breath and trembling, the security guard at the front desk looked at me as I stumbled in. Hey, you okay? He asked, noticing my panicked state. I tried to speak but couldn't get the words out. I just nodded and pointed toward the PA system. He raised an eyebrow but didn't seem concerned. The mic's been off all night. I stared at him. What? No, I heard it. It spoke my name, it said. Before I could finish, the overhead speakers crackled. And then I heard it again, clear as day. Daniel, you shouldn't be here. I froze. The voice was coming from right above us. The security guard turned pale, his face drained of color. The mic was still off, but the voice continued. Get out, you're not supposed to know. The security guard and I locked eyes. He heard it too. That meant I wasn't going insane. He slowly reached for his walkie-talkie, voice shaking. Central, we just had audio come through the PA. No one's at the mic, can you check the booth? Static, then a brief reply. Booth is empty, no activity logged, PA's disabled. But the voice had been crystal clear. We stood there in silence, listening, waiting for something else. But there was nothing, no more whispers. No static, the store returned to dead silence, like nothing had happened. That's when the guard, his name tag said Alan, turned to me and said, You're not the first. What do you mean? He looked around and then lined in. 2 years ago, a cashier named Tasha started hearing the same thing. PA calling her name, then it started repeating her thoughts. She quit, left town, never came back. I swallowed hard. What about the others? 4 I know of, he said, all gone. All after hearing the system speak when no one was near it. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. I dug through old news archives, employee forums, Reddit threads, anything related to Walmart late shifts and PA system glitches. I found one post buried in a conspiracy subreddit. Walmart night shift, PA knows your name. Posted by Anonymous 717. Every night, same time, 2:13 a.m. it starts with a whisper. Then it knows your thoughts, eventually. It starts giving warnings. Some people leave. Some vanish. If it ever speaks while you're looking in a mirror, run. That was all. The post had no replies. No upvotes, deleted 10 minutes after it was posted. It chilled me more than the voice itself. 2 nights later, I made the stupid decision to go back. I needed answers, I needed proof. I clocked in, avoided everyone, and went straight to the security booth. I brought my own camera and set it up facing the PA mic, sat down, waited. 2 a.m., 2:05 a.m., 2:10 a.m., nothing, 2:13 a.m., click. The mic light turned on. No one touched it. And then the voice came, louder than ever. Daniel, you should have left. It paused, then whispered, check the mirror. My blood ran cold. There was only one mirror in the security booth on the cabinet door behind me. I turned slowly, and I saw something I'll never forget. Me, but not me. The reflection was wearing my clothes. My face, but he wasn't moving the way I was. He was staring back at me dead still, with a faint smile. I reached up to touch the glass, and my reflection didn't move. It just stared. Then it mouthed something. Stay. The mic light blinked off. The room went silent. When I looked back at the mirror, my reflection was normal again. I quit the next morning. Didn't wait for my final paycheck. I blocked every number from the store. Got a new phone, moved out of state. But sometimes late at night, I still hear it. That soft click, the faint static, and then, Daniel, I don't answer. I don't look in mirrors after midnight. And I never walk under ceiling speakers if I can help it. Because once it knows your name, it never forgets. I started working night shifts at Walmart a few months back. Not my dream job, but the pay was steady. And the store was quiet after hours, mostly. The weirdest part about working graveyard wasn't the silence. It was the customers that still came in at 2 or 3 a.m., wandering the aisles like ghosts. Most were harmless, just night owls or people who worked odd hours like me. But then there was the man in aisle 9. I first noticed him about 3 weeks into the job. He wore a faded blue hoodie, jeans, and a gray beanie pulled low over his head. Nothing strange about that, but what stuck out was that I always saw him standing in the exact same spot, halfway down aisle 9, right by the canned vegetables. He didn't have a cart, never carried anything. Never moved, just stood there staring at the shelves. At first I figured he was comparing prices or lost in thought. I'd see people zone out all the time, but this guy didn't flinch, ever. One time I dropped a whole box of canned corn 2 feet away from him, and he didn't even blink. Weird, but maybe he had earbuds in or something. The next few nights I saw him again. Same hoodie, same jeans, same spot. Never grabbing anything, never even turning his head. That's when I asked Eddie, the guy who handled stock rotation before me, if he'd ever noticed him. Tall guy in a blue hoodie, Eddie asked. Yeah, always in aisle 9. Eddie's face darkened. Man, I thought he was just my imagination. You've seen him too. Yeah, what? He didn't answer, just muttered something like, don't stare too long. I tried not to think about it, but the next night I couldn't help myself. I walked down aisle 9 slowly, pretending to scan the shelves, sneaking glances at the man up close. I noticed something off. His clothes looked worn, like way more worn than they should. His jeans were frayed at the cuffs, and his hoodie had small holes in the sleeves. His sneakers were scuffed and looked decades old. And then there were his hands. They were just wrong, pale, thin, and motionless, hanging at his sides. His fingernails looked dark, like they were stained or decaying. I stepped a little closer and cleared my throat just to see if he'd respond. Nothing. I backed away and left the aisle. Whatever this guy was doing, I didn't want to be part of it. Later during break, I checked the cameras with Lisa from security. I didn't tell her much, just that I thought someone was hanging out in the same aisle every night. We rewound the footage to the previous week. There he was standing in the exact same spot. But when Lisa fast-forwarded the footage over several hours, he never moved, not once. Even weirder, she pointed something out I hadn't noticed before. "Look," she said, "he's there at 2:13 a.m. on Monday. And here he is at 2:13 a.m. on Tuesday. Exact same time, same position. Wait, are you saying he just appears there?" Lisa didn't answer. She just slowly sat back in her chair, staring at the screen. Then she asked something I'll never forget. "Have you ever actually seen him leave?" That night I avoided aisle 9 completely. I busied myself with restocking health and beauty, far on the other side of the store. But even then I felt watched, like someone was staring at me from across the rows of shampoo bottles and deodorant sticks. At exactly 2:13 a.m., I made the mistake of checking. I peeked around the end cap and looked toward aisle 9. From that distance, it was hard to see clearly, but I swear I saw the faint outline of him, still as a statue, standing exactly where he always did. I ducked back behind the display. Heart pounding, this wasn't normal. No one stands in the same place at the exact same time, every single night without reason. I told myself I was imagining things. Sleep deprived, overthinking. But deep down, I knew something was wrong with that man. 2 nights later, it got worse. I came in a little early, around 10:30 p.m. And the floor manager, Mike, pulled me aside. "Hey, weird question," he said. "You didn't leave any mannequins in aisle 9 last night, did you?" "What? No, why?" He looked unsettled. Cleaner said she saw a man just standing there when she came in this morning. Thought it was a mannequin at first, until she got close and he was gone. "Gone how?" "Just gone." She looked away and poof, no footprints, no nothing. I forced a laugh, probably just someone hiding from her. Weirdos come in all the time. Mike didn't laugh. She quit this morning. That night, curiosity got the better of me. At 2:10 a.m., I walked to aisle 9 with a fresh pallet of soup cans. Forcing myself to stay calm, as I turned the corner, my heart dropped. He was there, exactly where I expected, blue hoodie. Tattered jeans, beanie pulled down low. His hands still hung at his sides like dead weights. But this time his head was slightly tilted, like he was watching me approach. I froze. For the first time I realized something bone-chilling. I had never seen his face, not once. And suddenly I didn't want to. I turned away and started stocking cans. My back was to him, but I could feel it, his eyes, or whatever was under that beanie, locked on me. I tried to focus, stacking the cans neatly, pretending nothing was wrong. Then I heard it, a slow, shuffling sound. I turned around instantly. He hadn't moved, still standing there. But now his head was tilted more, almost unnaturally, like his neck didn't have bones. And his hands were now slightly lifted, just a few inches off his sides. No, I dropped the last can and hurried out of the aisle, practically sprinting toward the break room. My hands were shaking as I poured myself a coffee, trying to act normal. I didn't tell anyone that night. I didn't want to sound insane. The next day I called in sick. Just couldn't bring myself to go back. That evening Eddie texted me. "Dude, you working tonight? Lisa's gone." I called him. "What do you mean she's gone?" "She left in the middle of her shift. Her car's still in the lot, security room's a mess. Footage is missing, like manually deleted. Only thing left was one clip. He sent it to me. I watched it with the volume off at first. It was grainy, recorded from the overhead cam in aisle 9. Lisa was standing there alone. Flashlight in hand, she aimed it down the aisle, nothing, just shelves. Then a flicker, one frame. The man was suddenly there, closer than usual. The video glitched, then jumped again. He was now just a few feet behind her. Then black. That was it. The police were called, a missing persons report was filed. They reviewed the footage and wrote it off as a system error. Said she probably had a breakdown and wandered off. But Eddie and I knew better. He asked me one question before we ended the call that night. "Do you think he's stuck there?" I didn't answer, because in my gut I felt something worse. "I think he chooses to stay." After Lisa disappeared, everything changed. The night shift crew got shuffled. New security was brought in. Management told us not to talk about the incident. But people whispered anyway, everyone had theories. Some thought Lisa ran off, some said she saw something she wasn't supposed to. But no one said what we were all thinking. It had to do with him. The man in aisle 9. I tried to avoid him for a few nights. I asked to work in the back room just to stay away. But I couldn't stop thinking about him. About that video, that final frame, him. Standing inches from her, motionless. I started to notice small changes. The lights above aisle 9 began flickering more than usual. Products would shift or fall for no reason. The shelf where he stood always had something knocked over. Dented or out of place, like he was trying to reach for something or someone. Then one night Eddie didn't show up. At first I thought maybe he called in. But around 3 a.m. I found his phone sitting on the floor outside the stockroom. Screen cracked, still on. The last thing he texted me. Hey, moved. I told Mike, told him everything. About Eddie, Lisa, the video, the man who never left. Mike stared at me like I was nuts. There's no man in aisle 9, he said. We don't even have footage from that part of the store anymore. Cameras are out. I left early that night. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. And worse, I started seeing him outside of work. In reflections on sidewalks, always just a glimpse, a man in a blue hoodie watching from a distance. One night I came home and found a dented can of green beans sitting on my kitchen table. No one had keys to my place. I quit the next day. Blocked the store number, changed apartments, moved across town. For a while things were fine. I picked up a delivery job, kept my head down. Then last week I got a call from an unknown number. The voicemail was nothing but static, and one quiet whisper at the end. Aisle 9. This morning I went to the grocery store for the first time in weeks. Not a Walmart, some local shop near my new place. I was walking down an aisle looking for cereal, when I noticed something off about the shelves ahead. A man was standing there. Back turned, blue hoodie, frayed jeans, scuffed sneakers. He wasn't moving. I froze, every instinct told me to turn around and leave. But I couldn't, I just stared at him, transfixed. And slowly he turned his head. Not fully, just enough for me to see part of his face beneath the bani. His skin was pale and sunken, like he hadn't eaten in months. His eyes, there was nothing there. Just void, not even black, just absence. And then his lips moved. No sound came out, but I understood. You saw me, you spoke about me. He took one slow step toward me. I ran. I don't know what he is, I don't know if he ever worked there. Or if he ever existed in the way we think of people, but I do know this. He's not tied to aisle 9 anymore. Wherever I go, whatever store I enter, if there's an aisle marked 9, I skip it. If you work late shifts, if you ever see a man just standing there doing nothing, don't speak to him. Don't look too long. Don't ask questions. Because once you acknowledge him, he never leaves you.